How's it going, everyone? Kelton Reviews with my very last video on Cinder Shadow. Now, this video is going to be me pointing out not only the hypocrisies of him, but also his clear bias and fanboyism towards Hogwarts Legacy. And I will be providing a ton of evidence, mostly clips, of him saying these things, and I will be disputing his points. Now, again, don't go harass him and don't go, talk shit to him. If you go watch his content and you like it, go subscribe. But this is my very last video on the dude. Now, there's this video I watched of his. I'll put what it's called right here, where he was basically saying how Hogwarts Legacy was snubbed at the Game Awards. And he says a lot of very interesting things. So let's go ahead and get into the very first clip, shall we?
I've gone back and forth quite a few people. Results in me being blocked because apparently I'm absolutely insane for saying that Baldur's Gate 3 was nothing but a rated 18 game that was targeting teenagers because they want the horny sex scenes. Because that's what it is. But no, it's optional. That's optional for the game. It doesn't throw it in your face, even though they had to sit there and do a hotfix because the NPCs were way too horny and pushing that narrative.
Now, you see in this clip, he is very shocked that people were pushing back against him towards his criticisms of Baldur's Gate 3. And not only that, saying that the game was marketed towards teenagers, even though when you go watch any trailer of Baldur's Gate 3, it will clearly say that the game is rated M for mature. But Cinder, the reason why you were getting pushback is because you only have one major negative towards Baldur's Gate 3, and that is the sex scenes. Which, yes, as you said, people were telling you they were optional sex scenes. You don't have to romance anybody in Baldur's Gate 3. And just like with other major RPGs that do contain romance, most of the time it will be optional and you don't have to do it. But the reason why people were getting on you is because you made it seem like that's what the game purely focuses on, which is a bold-faced pure lie, and you know it. All because the marketing features the romance scenes does not mean the game is primarily marketing the romance scenes. They were marketing the actual game. The game of what it's going to be like with adventure and danger and high stakes. And yes, even some romance if you choose to. But let's go ahead and get into the second clip.
But the one biggest one from the entire Game Awards that seems to not be there is Hogwarts Legacy. The game that made $1 billion did not even get nominated for anything on the scale. And everyone's saying it's because they did nothing special. The game was different. There was puzzles. There was a massive place that you had to explore. They're making like a Quidditch version of the game and a second version of the game. It was that successful of the game, and it was an original IP.
Now here he brings up the fact that Hogwarts Legacy wasn't nominated at the Game Awards, and he brings up the fact that the game made well over $1 billion, which is true. Hogwarts Legacy was a major success for WB Games. However, the reasons why it wasn't nominated was unfairly and unjustly due to the controversies tied to Hogwarts Legacy. And here's the thing. Do I think the game was good? Absolutely. It was my second best game of the year. But when people say the game did nothing special, it is true. You go in the setting, the game had a large area to explore and puzzles. And dude, you are basically explaining every open world RPG out there. Most open world RPGs have puzzles you can do, a large area you can explore. And you saying it was an original IP, yeah, it's the first Hogwarts Legacy game, but it is based off a major intellectual property tied to the Harry Potter license, which is one of the biggest IPs of all time. So, of course, the game's going to sell well. It's going to be huge because it's based off one of the biggest franchises of all time. But yes, the game was very safe. It was just your traditional open world RPG. On to the next one.
Baldur's Gate 3, because it is a new studio that did it, they can't claim that they reused assets. They just reused D&D adventures that tell the story. But once again, they really did push in your face that it was all about sex. The stuff that came out from Loran Studios literally was promoting having sex with a bear and promoting the romance scenes of the game. But apparently that's only 1% of the game, and I need to look deeper into it. That's the marketing material that I was presented with in front of my face for this game. What else am I supposed to think? I have seen this game get played by many people at events, Fragapalooza being one of them. I don't know if people were playing it at the game day that I went to, but I've seen large events playing this game. I play Cyberpunk. It's a game. Cyberpunk doesn't pull punches. It's a game that is rated mature. It's a game that knows what it is, and it is a very mature game, where Baldur's Gate 3 is a game that doesn't quite know where it is. It's pretending to be a game marketed towards teenagers, but then it is a very mature game, but it's hidden in that fact. And that's the problems that I have with that type of game. Not to mention, it's also early access game for 3 years. Out of all the games that I've seen for a game of the year, I don't think I've ever seen an early access game get this much attention. Now, when it came to concurrent users, Hogwarts Legacy was still #1. Baldur's Gate came very close to concurrent users for it, but they never did hit that target. They came very close. Has Baldur's Gate sold more than Hogwarts Legacy? I don't even know, because the numbers aren't quite really showing.
Okay, so I know that was a lot to take in. A lot of the long clips I'm going to be doubling to speed for, but that's beside the point. Again, he brings up the fact that this game pushed sex in your face. And while, yes, sex was in some of the marketing material, sure, they're showing you what you can do in Baldur's Gate 3. But sex is literally the most minor part of Baldur's Gate 3. What you're playing that game for is the adventure, the story. You know, the experiences you have, you can tell with your friends. And while, yes, sex and romance is in the game, it is completely and utterly optional. And that's what he's choosing. He acknowledges it, but he still feels like they're forcing it upon you when they're not. Also, he brings up Cyberpunk, which I think is fucking hilarious. Cyberpunk is some of the most in-your-face sex scenes of any video game, but yet he's not complaining about that. I guess because in the clip he does say that, oh, the game targets a mature audience. Well, I hate to tell you, buddy, so does Baldur's Gate 3. The game targets a mature audience. That's why the game is rated M for mature, because it's targeting a mature fan base. And of course, the third thing he brings up is the player counts for both Hogwarts Legacy and Baldur's Gate 3. So he shows that yes, Hogwarts Legacy had, a slight bump when in concurrent players. Overall, more people are still playing Baldur's Gate 3, which completely debunks your point, because that means that less people are still playing Hogwarts compared to Baldur's Gate. And that just completely debunks your point, because that just shows that more people are more interested in playing that game compared to Hogwarts. On to the next clip.
But with more innovation and all other games combined. And it's way more than the completely generic but fun Hogwarts. Hogwarts apparently is completely generic, even though you sit there and you contain creatures in it, you learn multiple spells, you have a vast world that is open world that you can go through, you have a linear quest line if you want, or you can do the many multiple quests out there. 4 different stories there that you can go through and get each unlocked. There's so much things to do in Hogwarts Legacy.
So in this clip, he is responding to hate comments he received from his Hogwarts got snubbed at the Game Awards video. And this is from this video right here, these clips right here. And in this video, he's responding to a comment where this dude says that Hogwarts Legacy is generic. And you can see that he got slightly offended, because he goes on to describe the amount of things you can do in Hogwarts Legacy. The multiple 4 different stories, which I guarantee he's talking about the different house missions, which I will debunk here in a sec. You can tame animals. You can follow this linear storyline, but also do the mini quests around the map. You can learn new spells. Dude, you described Skyrim. You literally just described Skyrim. And to an extent, you described Oblivion in some way, but you can't tame animals in that. And dude, you're describing a generic RPG. And this whole thing of, the 4 missions you can do, bro, 3 out of the 4 houses have 1 unique mission, and they're all super short. Ravenclaw doesn't even have a mission tied to it. And I love Hogwarts Legacy, but I can admit it's a generic RPG. It is generic to its core. There's nothing that makes it unique other than, oh look, it's an open world RPG with a Harry Potter coat of paint on it. That is literally all Hogwarts Legacy is, and you need to accept that, man. It just wasn't that special. It was just a great game for Harry Potter fans. It did nothing new. Hell, you couldn't even play Quidditch. How the fuck are you gonna have a Harry Potter RPG and not have Quidditch? I don't understand. I'm getting mad at myself. I need to chill. But yeah, dude, no, it is a very generic RPG.
Baldur's Gate 3, I have to say, straight through and through, everything I have seen has been about sex. Everything about the game that people post online that are viral videos for Baldur's Gate 3 that I've seen are about sex. And Loran Studios even made their bear sex as a joke to get a rise out of people. Why in the world do I want to play this game?
Okay, so again, as you can see, the same criticism again. They marketed sex. Which, yeah, they had romance scenes in the trailer. It wasn't the main focus. It wasn't the first thing that popped up on your screen when you watched the trailer. They mostly marketed the story and the experiences and the adventures you can have in Baldur's Gate 3. But he chooses to harp on, this game contains sex. I don't like sex in my games, even though I love these other games that contain sex. You see what I mean? This is the dude who's only making a complaint because he refuses to play the game. He refuses to. And if it's not your type of game, man, that's fine. But when you're actively shitting on the game, people at least expect you to have more criticism toward the game other than, oh, it just has sex scenes. Just some sex scenes. Oh, they showed you can have sex with a bear in the trailer, even though that wasn't a bear, that was a druid. You claim you're a D&D fan, but yeah, sure shows it. You were having sex with a druid. They even showed it in the trailer that it was a druid. You were fucking a druid. I just don't understand, man. Like, you hate this game for sex scenes, but yet you love other games with sex scenes. I don't get your big criticism of Baldur's Gate then. I don't get it. But no, they weren't marketing the game majorly towards sex. They were marketing the adventures and experiences you can have within Baldur's Gate 3. They weren't marketing just the sex.
You seem to think that Baldur's Gate 3 is a sex romance sim. You have a choice in the game. You can decide not to participate in romance options at all. And there's a vast game surrounding it that has nothing to do with romance. Also, you never had to repurchase Baldur's Gate 3 when it hit 1.0. You got all the updates for free. You seem obsessed with sex. Obsessed with sex. Sure. I'll just let my wife know that. Maybe we can do some more things. I don't know what you want me to say to that. The game was marketed as a romance sex game. That's what I saw. That's what I've seen for trailers. It came down to they had to hotfix the NPCs because they were too thirsty and jumped your bones all the time. Why do I want to play this again?
So this comment this dude left on his video is actually a very intelligent take. Dude, the reason why he said he seemed to be obsessed with sex is because all the major criticisms you bring up towards Baldur's Gate 3 is the sex scenes. You don't criticize the gameplay, the presentation, the story, anything like that. You just criticize the sex scenes within Baldur's Gate 3 that this lovely gentleman that commented on your video also pointed out is completely optional. And there's an entire game around this. There's another game. It's not just focused on sex. Trust me, I've played over 250 hours of Baldur's Gate 3, and I can tell you right now, there is more to the game than just sex scenes. Out of my entire 250 hours of gameplay, I've experienced maybe 3-4% sex scenes out of 250 hours. Most of which have been strategically fighting enemies, experiencing the well-crafted, well-written story, having fun, talking to my companions, getting to know them better, doing their quests, doing all the fun and entertaining side quests. There is a game there that you're choosing to ignore because you're so obsessed with the sex scenes, and I don't fucking get it. I fucking don't. I don't understand why you're this butthurt over some fucking sex scenes, bro. Like, it's completely optional. You don't even have to do it. And people are trying to tell you this, but you never listen. Do you guys see where I'm now coming from with this guy? He's shitting on the game for no other reason other than the sex scenes. That is literally it. That's it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you lose 100% credibility whining about Baldur's Gate. You haven't even played it. It's 100% game of the year, game of the decade even, an absolute masterpiece. What a clown show. The clown show is that you sat there and you actually put out that comment. And of course, you're saying I'm whining about Baldur's Gate 3. Well, it's a game that looks absolutely unappealing to me whatsoever. People tell me that the romance is 1% of the game, but when I saw a trailer and them promote the bear sex in the game, why, once again, would I even want to play this game? So, once again, I'm still trying to understand the entirety of wanting to play Baldur's Gate 3. People apparently are only playing it for the romance. Baldur's Gate 3 data miners find evidence of much requested romance options. Baldur's Gate 3 romance guide. Baldur's Gate 3 hotfix sorts out the Gale's romance scene, fixing incoming Asterarians kissing. All Baldur's Gate 3 romances and relationships. Why? This is why I sat there, I looked at the game and went, I want nothing to do with that. That to me doesn't look like it's Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't look like it's a sword and sorcery game. It looks like it's a dating sim. Every publication that has come out on this game that I've seen is about romance, sex, and everything else to do with the game. Trailers that Loran put out there was the first one. One of the first ones they put out there when this game was launching was all about romance. There was like 4 or 5 or 6 different scenes of people kissing in the game. I don't care for that. That's not the type of game I want. If I want to play a game, I'm going to play like Cyberpunk. You know, yes, there is romance and sex in Cyberpunk, and I gotta say, it did spring upon me because people say these things are optional.
Only game. Why you have to be mad?
Oh boy, there is a lot to go over from that clip. For one, he says this game does not look or feel like a D&D game, even though he has never fucking played the game. As someone who's been playing Dungeons and Dragons for 16 years, I can officially say that this game is the definitive Dungeons and Dragons game. It feels like a video game version of the tabletop RPG. It feels like a game that is set in the D&D universe. It feels like a Dungeons and Dragons game, but of course he wouldn't know that because he hasn't played it and will not, because again he brings up the sex scenes. Keep in mind this is all in one video and he continuously brings up the sex scenes. Brings up, oh, there's romance guides out there. Oh, Larian had to fix a bug that made the NPCs, your companions, act a little bit more horny towards you, which they wound up fixing. And it became a meme, and Larian played into the joke. He brings up, he brings up an article that says, oh, I'm only playing this game for the romance. But yet he doesn't provide any other statistics that show that that's what majority players are playing this game for. Most of my friends who have bought this game are playing this game because they're also fans of Dungeons and Dragons. They're playing this game because they love RPGs. They love games that give them the freedom to do whatever they want. And that's what Baldur's Gate 3 is. And of course, remember how I said the hypocrisy was going to really kick in? Here it is. He says he loves games like Cyberpunk 2077, which I hate to tell you guys. If you guys haven't played it, let me tell you, the game has a forceful sex scene in it when you go back as Johnny Silverhand. There is a full-blown sex scene in the game that is not optional. But yet he loves that game, but is shitting on Baldur's Gate 3 because of it? Even though Baldur's Gate 3's sex scenes are all optional and Cyberpunk has some non-optional sex scenes in it? It kind of makes you think and wonder, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? So by his logic, he should be hating games like Cyberpunk, The Witcher 3, Mass Effect. Hell, let's throw in Starfield because you can marry your companions in that game. This is what I mean. He's a hypocrite. He is a straight up hypocrite. He hates Baldur's Gate for the sex scenes, but loves other games that contain sex scenes. It boggles my fucking mind. It really does. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my last video on the dude. After this, I'm doing why Baldur's Gate 3 is better than Starfield. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This video took a little bit to make, so I hope you guys appreciated it, and I'll talk to you guys next time. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you guys believe in. I hope you guys have a great and fantastic holiday.